Hey, good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with, and as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Blue Sports Report. About you guys, man, this literally does not work. We are riding down the country, got about 300 miles of driving to do with work in between, but you know, they always tell me, don't quit your day job. So that's where we're headed. But I was sitting here thinking, because I do a lot of my thinking when I'm driving and things like that. And I was sitting here thinking, the Dallas Cowboys are actually in a fantastic position because they went through this offseason and they went ahead and basically tried to get upgrades at almost every single level, with the exception of maybe linebacker. I mean, we kind of stayed pat with our linebacking core and stuff like that.
Like that rookie you picked up, though.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but we didn't bring in any studs, okay? We still have Sean Lee, Van Der Esch, and Jalen Smith. You look at the defensive line, you know, we lost Randy Gregory for who knows how long, but you brought in Robert Quinn. You ended up bringing in Kevin Hayter, who's trying to get back to his 2016 form. We brought in Christian Covington. So you end up having, you know, better talent collectively, at least on paper, than you had before. Offensive line, you end up drafting another stud offensive lineman. You get Travis Frederick back. You know, you look at running back. You ended up getting Tony Pollard. You know, in the draft and stuff. You look at, you know, defensive backfield. You end up bringing in George Iloka, and you draft like a Michael Jackson. So you look at the talent that the Cowboys have. The Cowboys have a whole lot of talent, and here's where you look around the NFL where teams don't have as much depth of things, and you're basically one injury away from having, your season being ruined or knowing that you need an upgrade. And so you can use some of these guys that are on your team, maybe as possibly trade. Now, Vosh will tell you, and maybe he needs to stop saying he's garbage, La'el Collins. La'el Collins is paid like a top 5 tackle, but I'm not sure he's quite a top 5 tackle. I think the Cowboys, being the mad scientists that they've always been, where they've moved guys around from guard to tackle and things like that, or they take like Byron Jones from cornerback to safety to cornerback, where sometimes you stunt their growth, and of course changing offensive line coaches and stuff hasn't helped us as much either. You know, when you brought in Mr. Ketchup Bottle himself, I think that screwed up our offensive line completely. But be that as it may, he's in the last year of his contract, and for the Dallas Cowboys, it's advantageous to keep him on the team and him to play well, because if he ends up leaving at the end of the season and ends up signing a big contract elsewhere, then you're going to get a compensatory pick. And that's one of the things when you look at a New England Patriots team, what they do is they have no problem letting a great free agent go because they get back compensatory picks. I mean, how crazy is it that they won the Super Bowl last year and they had 12 picks, tied for the most amount of picks in the draft? And it's crazy when you think about it, but that's what they do. So for the Cowboys, ultimately it's best to keep him on the team and him play well, get the compensatory pick, or if you can trade him during training camp, get yourself a draft pick if you believe that you have Connor Williams that can take over a tackle, and you end up plugging in Connor McGovern at guard, or Joe Looney or Xavier Salafalo. If you looked at the situation and say, we're not going to take a step backwards on the offensive line and we can get some cap relief, because La'el Collins, if you end up getting rid of him, we're talking about $8 million of cap space. And if you can get a draft pick for him, then maybe you consider that. If you're just talking about cutting him, you don't want to cut him, you want to keep him for next year. So that's where you start looking at some of the players that you have, where you have an abundance of riches, and say, how can I best suit my team not only for this year, but for the long term. Does that make any sense at all? And so that's going to be one of those ones to be key. Now, when you and here's where, as much as Vosh will be over tomorrow night, we'll talk about this stuff with him. As much as he talks about how much he's trash and things like that, think about this. The Washington Redskins ended up getting Eric Flowers, who was a former first-round draft pick by the Giants. And they're talking about, well, he could be a change in culture for the Redskins, and they're banking on him.
But you know what they gave up for him?
What?
The 6th round depository pick.
Yeah, but you look at what La'el Collins versus Eric Flowers. As much as Vosh says La'el Collins is garbage, he's a hell of a lot better than Eric Flowers. So if Eric Flowers is the guy that you're going to go ahead and have to block for your quarterback, and think about this, Chaz Green, I think, is it Minnesota? I mean, he's doing the NFL tour. He's still employed. So if you had to make a choice of Chaz Green protecting your quarterback, and with quarterbacks being, 30 plus million now, you might want to consider making a trade for La'el Collins. I'm just saying, that's the way you have to look at it. And if it ends up being that the Cowboys can get something, even if it's a 4th or a 5th round, you might consider that. Cap relief, future draft pick. But the key is still, do you take a step backwards on the offensive line? That is the key, and you do not want to take a step backwards. And these are the hard decisions that the front office, Will McClay and, Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones and all that, you have to look at everything in dollars and cents, because the reality is you only have so much money to go around. Now, I was sitting here, and I wish I actually had time to do the paperwork on it, but I'll do that tonight when I get back home, is looking at our cap situation beyond just this year. When you start looking at it next year and you start looking at the numbers, what we have set up, because the Dallas Cowboys has so many young players, your Leighton Vander Esch's, your Jalen Smiths, your Connor Williams and stuff. After you get past Cam Fleming, nobody's paid more than like $3.5 million a year, which is a great situation. And hats off to the Dallas Cowboys, because what they've been able to do is get talent through the draft, and that 4 to 5 years that you have those guys dirt cheap is how you really have to build a team. All right, guys, we'll see you all later.